I wonder if Sir Donald Wakefield is in the Epstein files. Welcome, heirs, astronauts, and assassins, to the 554th episode of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 7th of February, 2026. And why am I doubting that number? Are we. Oh no, I updated the number too many times. I was right to doubt it. This is episode 553, and I'm glad I caught it now instead of 2 hours from now. Uh, Welcome to our review of Sarah Jane Smith Dreamland, the other one, but it's about the same place. Written by David Bishop and starring Elizabeth Sladen as Sarah Jane Smith, Jazz Fielder as Josh Townsend, and Sadie Miller as Nat Redfern. I am Bill Sylvia, the one in black, and with me are Alex Fyrehart
Hello.
and Aaron RomeoMoon Burke.
Hello.
Hello.
Are you there?
Up. Can nobody hear me?
I can hear you now.
And now,
Alrighty.
yeah.
What happened
Okay.
What's everyone up to this week?
Mostly work and gaming. Did a 8-hour shift last week, and I'll be doing one this week. Tomorrow. Just to try and get some extra money. Been doing some 6-hour shifts as well. Really trying to figure out what I'm gonna do gearing into quitting my job, because obviously I want to make sure I'm like financially set for a while. Between and like figuring out the whole possibly getting some sort of I guess for lack of anything else to call it, probably a pension, but like something just like in the sense that I've made it clear to my psychiatrist, I do not think I can hold down normal work. Like with everything going on in here in my head. So it's like non-traditional stuff. I'd probably have to get back into streaming to try and make some extra money here and there. But beyond that, also just trying to make sure like haven't been spending money too recklessly, because I've got a trip this coming week, which is thank God it's on our week off. Which is why I might have mentioned it before, but it was a matter of like the same thing as I'm saying here, where it's like, well, thankfully it's on a week off, so it doesn't really matter. Because I'm going to AEW are doing their sort of what I guess now is an annual Australia tour. I don't know why the hell they're doing it in our summer, but you know, more power to them, I guess. So I'll be going to Sydney, and then because wrestling's my special interest and I can't just go to one, they're doing a house show in my home state, so I'm going to be traveling to Sydney and then Brisbane. And the shows are like one on the Saturday, one on the Sunday. So I have to wake up really fucking early to get out of that hotel that I'm staying at in Sydney, get to the airport to get my flight whenever it is, get to Brisbane, wait around for however long until I can actually put my stuff in my room, and then pretty much immediately go to the show on the Sunday, and then I'll just be in Brisbane for a few days. So I'm definitely gonna have to get a head start on watching forward a bit of the Torchwood stuff that we've got coming up. So I don't like forget in wake of doing that. Um, yeah. Other than that, yeah, it's basically just been gaming and trying to figure out um how I'm gonna sort myself out financially. I've got some options anyway, for the time being, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I'm still trying to figure out when, because I want to give my work, but given how accommodating my work has been compared to how I assume other places could be, um, I'm going to try and give them like well in advance notice. It's like, yeah, you've only got me until whenever, and then I'm out. So make as much use of me as you can until then, because once we hit this point, I'm out.
I'll
I'll
never
pull.
forget that I worked with one manager that when somebody gave in to like uh we had an employee that called and was like, "Oh, if I'm going to quit, how much notice should I give?" And we were like 2 weeks notice. And then she called, like I was in the car with the manager. They called the manager and gave 2 weeks, or no, they went to give 2 weeks notice, and then the same manager that said 2 weeks was like, "Well, I'm just going to take her off the schedule." I'm like, "Then why the fuck did you
Yeah.
say 2 weeks?"
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we've actually walked people out for giving 2 weeks, and that like, oh well, you're quitting in 2 weeks. You're gone now, which is kind of crazy. But they're
Is,
also
isn't your job union?
it is union. But like when you quit, you kind of quit the union too, and so it's kind
Yeah,
of
but unions
weird.
usually protect the right to do that without retaliation.
Yeah, I think
Like
Depends
it
you
on the
don't quit
happens.
union
union.
for another 2 weeks, presumably.
Yeah, it depends on the union, but
Hmm.
it's also I think it's also happened more to lawyers and engineers and stuff. So who are non-union, and they're also
Gotcha.
obsessed with security despite having terrible security. So they're very much they've modeled themselves on the military basically. Because everything's in an acronym,
Hmm.
Wonderful.
a cryptic an acronym, and then like
Yeah.
they're obsessed with people stealing stuff even though a while ago they already had a bunch of classified information stolen by the Chinese tourists that they allowed to wander around in the factory.
No.
Ah,
So, yeah. Yeah, I get. Is it my turn or are we still on Alex?
I think
You can
that's a
go. I was
transition
basically
to
done.
you
Yeah.
or not.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been dealing with estate stuff. Apparently, my dad couldn't handle my mom's all of the stuff that my mom had going on, so he basically signed over my mom's assets to my aunt as my aunt being an executor of those assets. So we've got an awkward situation with the my aunt being my mom's sister. We have an awkward situation where my mom's sister is in charge of part of the estate, and then my dad's one of my dad's brothers who's had legal, like he started going to school to be a lawyer and wound up being a cop. He um he's in charge of my dad's assets, even though technically my
I
mom's
remember you
assets should
told
have
us
rolled
last
over.
time that there was a conflict over how that was going. Yeah.
There is a conflict, and it's, I don't know, it's just kind of snowballing into something that's worse than it probably should have been because my aunt's taken out her executor fee out of my mom's, basically my mom's savings accounts, which she said she was going to do. She says that it's legal, her legal right to take it. I just wish that she had taken it after we'd sold more assets, because right now
Right.
the estate is short on paying off some of the bills, and now we've got people complaining about having to pay stuff out of pocket. And it's just like, well, if you hadn't have done this, we would have had the money to, pay stuff
Mm-hmm.
out of pocket. To the point where there my brother had bought a Lincoln Navigator a long time ago. Had to gave it to my mom to take care of after like his divorce and everything. My mom, he couldn't pay the fee for it, the loan, and so she took it over.
Okay.
And then when my mom passed away, it was supposed to go back to my brother. But it was kind of held in probate limbo kind of deal.
Right.
And so apparently when my dad passed away, his accounts were frozen and the payments on the loan were not being made. And that they haven't been made for, I think, the past couple of months, like January and February, I
The
think.
dealers? Oh, just a few months. Okay.
But now there's a repo order on the Navigator.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, I feel like, well, like maybe I'm mixing up. Oh no, it was your mother that passed first, and then your dad, right?
Yeah. So now there's a
Okay,
repo order.
so if it was
Yeah.
still being paid until your dad died, I can see why it's taken them this long, because it hasn't been that much time. If it was when your mom passed, I was gonna say, I'm surprised they haven't come for it yet. But
Yeah. Like, so, and then of course my aunt is pointing fingers at my brother saying that he should have been paying the loan. I'm like, well, is the loan in my brother's name? Is the car in my brother's name yet? If not, then it's
the
technically,
estate should have been doing that.
Yep. Yeah, like technically the executor should have been doing that, and my dad's brother didn't have access to any of the financial stuff. He actually had to go into the lawyer, and the lawyer welcomed him in and everything and was like probably please don't get me disbarred or something like that for the kind of the shenanigans going on. Because I could see that kind of being a valid threat with all of the BS that this unnecessary BS that this has been thrown around. So yeah, so it's kind of it's basically just my aunt trying to blame my brother, and my brother's like, when was I supposed to take all this stuff over? No one told me I had to be paying this, because
So
they've both been fighting.
She basically sounds like she's taking a fee, but not actually doing the work that comes with the fee.
Exactly. So, and that's my kind of great disappointment. So, I'm going to be happy when all this is said and done. I'm sure she's going to come crawling forward asking for her fee to be extended. Because I'm kind of wondering, because she estimates that the estate is worth $400,000. I don't know if it's really worth that very much. So, and if it's worth less than that, then what happens to her executor fee? Does it get reduced? Does she have to pay back some of that? So I'm just kind of curious. So it's just been this whole clusterfuck, and it's not been fun to deal with, especially since it feels like she's using, at every turn, she's trying to build herself up as being easy to work with, even though she's made it very hard for my uncle to access finances, both my dad's finances and my mom's finances. It was very opaque there for a while.
Do you have a lawyer representing you? And I know that's not an easy ask.
I will be meeting somebody on Monday. We'll be doing I think a call. We'll be calling in to him and doing like a free consultation. My boyfriend found somebody in town here.
Going on. Either you're gonna at this point it seems everything's gonna end up in a fight, and nobody, like, you're not gonna see a damn thing. Or you need a lawyer to make sure that that's not what happens.
Well, to my aunt's credit, I think she talked to my uncle about letting me take the Jeep that my dad owned, my dad's old Jeep. So then I'll take that, I'll insure it, and have my boyfriend's name on as a driver. So now my boyfriend, who was rear-ended like 2-3 years ago and lost his car, and of course he was a courier and lost his job as a courier, so he has had no transportation. I've been driving him back and forth to work on his days that he does work, other than his roommate also driving him. So now he'll have a car, basically, so. Yeah,
I was just about to see what images I could put on screen for our banter, so it's not just a white page. But then I'm like, I'm not going to put a picture of your aunt and your lawyer.
I just have the Dreamland title card up right now, so I guess I should probably move us on, because like we should have each other's stuff up here.
Yeah, that's our. Yeah.
No, that skipped way too far ahead. Oh God. Everything.
In the meantime.
There we go.
Wait, first let me just make sure Twitch only. Okay, I'm like, the Twitch player crashed for me. I wanted to make sure the stream didn't crash. It was not the stream. It was just the player. That's
okay. Good.
So yeah, the most interesting thing on my end is last time I went to the doctor, I had told him about like that I've been having back pain since Christmas and asking like at what point can I just say, can I do I stop saying it's because of my fall and start saying maybe I need some sort of medical care? And he gave me patches that I guess when I have back pain I can put it on it and like injects a painkiller directly into it.
Oh God.
Since that day, I have not had back pain a single time. Having that
Oh wow.
conversation cured my back pain.
Oh my God. I was going to say, be careful of those patches. My dad was having issues with a pain in his neck. Needed a fusion for a vertebra in his back, and they gave him the amount that they would normally give a dying person, which
Ooh.
got
I
him hooked
see.
on narcotics all over again. So
Got you. So
it was so bad he
I'll
was
check.
falling asleep.
I see. And that's also why like I tend I tend if I think like I'm definitely been careful like most of the time about seeking any sort of painkillers. I've been as I get older I relax more and I'm more willing to take like Tylenol and whatever. But like I have alcoholism in my family and I have an addictive ADHD dopamine
Mm,
seeking personality
Mm-hmm.
or like brain, neuro type. So like I
yeah.
probably am at high risk. Like if I like right now I tend to I more this is something I still haven't seen a doctor for yet because I'm getting other things out of the way. But I have an ankle issue, which I looked up is not gout because I know our podcast has talked about gout a lot. It's not gout, but I don't know what it is. It
Hmm.
might be like a fracture that poorly healed or something.
Yeah.
But I haven't like been taking anything for that most of the time because I don't want to be the person who needs to down half a bottle of Tylenol to get up in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm.
um,
It's a valid concern.
otherwise, yeah. Otherwise, I'm getting back into the swing of teaching more often. I've definitely had a lot of time where I'm just teaching takes a lot out of me. My the faculty member I'm working with this semester seems convinced that I'm extroverted because like I speak up in meetings, right? I don't like, I'm not shy. I've been in I've been teaching. I've been a grad student. I've been a manager. I'm not shy at that point, but he doesn't see the fact that like after teaching, I basically need to sit in a quiet room for 4 hours to reboot my brain.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to get past that to the point of getting things done because I have a few things I'm a little bit behind on that I need to make sure I don't keep falling behind on. But luckily, like there's not a lot of teaching prep. It's a class I've done before, so that's not too bad unless I let myself make it too bad. And yeah, those are the main things going on with me at the moment. So let me see. Soundboard. On tonight's show, we have exactly two pieces of news. One of them is very brief, one of them is probably going to be a discussion. Then we have a couple of items for Geek Talk, both Aaron, and then we have our summary review, final thoughts, and ratings. And maybe we'll do like final thoughts on the season and the episode separately. If we, so
Hmm.
I think we'll have time for that. I think we'll have plenty of time. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's what we have today. So on to Alex with the birthdays.
Okay. On the 26th of January, we have Malcolm Young, who was a executive producer for series one of the uh, revival of Doctor Who, turned 69. On the 29th, we have Catherine Stewart, who played Jenny Flint from 2011 to 2014, plus worked for Big Finish since, turned 38. On the 30th of January, we have Daphne Ashbrook, who was Grace Holloway in the TV movie, plus worked for Big Finish, turned 63. In February, on the 1st, we have Elizabeth Sladen, who's Sarah Jane Smith from 73 to 76, again in 81, 83, and then 2006 to 2011 plus work for Big Finish. Would have been
I
80 but died in
appreciate that this
2011.
episode aligned. I appreciate that this episode aligned with Elizabeth Sladen's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. But yeah, she died. She would have been 80 but died in 2011 at the age of 65. On the 3rd of February, we have Warwick Davis, who was Porridge in Nightmare in Silver, better known as Wicket the Ewok and Marvin the Paranoid Android, among other roles, one of which, no, we're not going to mention. Fuck you. Turned 56. On the 4th, we have Peter Butterworth, who played the monk in seasons 2 and 3. Would have been 107, but died in 1979 at the age of 59. And finally, also on the 4th, we have our very own Mad Matt Winchell, who turned 41. So happy birthday to Malcolm, Katrin, Daphne, Elizabeth, Warwick, Peter, and Matt.
Moving on
Happy
to the
birthday.
news. Our normal piece of news is there is another auction. We have by Prop Store in partnership with BBC Studios. The auction is currently ongoing, but it's running through the 19th of February and features items from all the way from the 10th Doctor through the 15th Doctor era. All lots, so they are sold in lots starting at £100. 20% of the proceeds will be donated to Children in Need, which I think actually Children in Need is in the fall, so I feel like there's normally an auction around that time. I'm not sure if there's normally one around this time or not. So the full link is at propstoreauction.com/auctions/info/ID/494, or you can just search for Doctor Who Online Auction 2026. But yeah, there's several screwdrivers, Daleks, Cybermen, other things. I didn't scroll down too far, but if you're interested in any of those things and you have the cash for it, Children in Need, good cause. And that is
Definitely
it for that.
make sure you've got the definitely make sure you've got the money for it. I'm assuming screen used artist is currently going for £8,500, and the asking bid was £9,000. So
Wow.
yeah, make sure you don't go I get it, it's show props, but for love of God, people just bid on stuff you think you might actually be able to get.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like some $30 little toy you find in Hot Topic or something like that. It's gonna cost you.
I imagine the Tennant and Capaldi households might be looking to add more Daleks to their living room.
Well, I mean, the funny thing is I almost wonder if this ties into that joking photo that Georgia Tennant posted to Instagram, whatever. It's like, well, I have to make it so you can stop playing the Doctor somehow or something. Where it seemed like she was raiding his closet, because there is legitimately one of the items on here are the 10th Doctor's pair of Converse trainers. So they're screen-worn shoes.
Oh my God, Randy would have killed for those. He loved Converse trainers. Just in general, and in having those shoes, God, yeah.
I mean, as long as he's not sniffing them before putting them on, because I know there are those fans out there.
Oh no.
Moving on from that, so this is a report done by the BBC, and there's a bit to this, some of which I think contradicts other things, and some of which kind of helps to interpret others. So please let me get to the finish before adding thoughts on it, because there's quite a bit. Um, so this was the BBC Commission study, uh, independent thematic review of portrayal and representation of the UK and BBC content. And this is Cultbox kind of taking some quotes from the 80-page report. And, and what Cultbox summarizes it as acknowledging that colorblind casting could be clunky in some cases. I'm going to read the exact quotes because I think there's some important topics here, and I want to be precise on what we're responding to and making sure that we're not reacting to, headlines and clickbait or anything.
Mm.
Say, as in all organizations, assessing progress requires regular measurement. The BBC does measure diversity in its content with the aim of portraying and representing the UK. However, this is currently done largely at the program level. As a result, this can sometimes lead to a sense that there needs to be a smattering of diversity in every program, which can lead to inauthentic portrayal. Now, that's the exact opposite of what that Cultbox summary just said. That's the opposite of colorblind casting, and that's why I wanted to make sure we're being very precise here. In some cases, this can look clunky, particularly in scripted programs. And so they make a recommendation for the BBC to stop making this measurement at the program level and to do so at the genre level instead. So it would be looking at, they would make measurements of all dramas rather than expecting individual shows to have a certain amount of diversity. Well, the BBC must accurately reflect UK society overall. This would ensure it had creative freedom to make programs where the diversity is organic, natural, and arises from its location and context. Colorblind casting in drama is still controversial among some commentators, and some audience complaints on this topic were received during the review year about Doctor Who. And then they go on to describe Sir Isaac Newton, played by a mixed Indian white actor, which was a large topic in 2023. Some complainants argued that it would cause offense if a white person were to portray a black historical figure, and it is certainly hard to imagine a modern equivalent to Sir Laurence Olivier's blacking up to play Othello. However, without colorblind casting, and at this point I'm not entirely sure they quite are grasping what colorblind casting would fully be, or maybe these quotes are just drawn from different places, and the summary, it's weird out of context. But without colorblind casting, the range of roles available to actors of color would be severely restricted in a way which would not be the case for white actors. So we find this is a false equivalence. In period drama, the controversy tends to be related to whether the series wants to be taken seriously as historically accurate or whether we are in the world of fantasy. Also, people sometimes assume that the history of the British Isles was entirely white without recognizing that some degree of ethnic mix has always existed. In Doctor Who, if we can ask viewers to believe that the central character is an extraterrestrial being who can regenerate into a range of different actors and travels in a time machine through the space-time continuum, a mixed race Sir Isaac Newton seems much less of a stretch. And that's the end of the quotes.
Yeah. Where it's like we're dealing with a show that has like 3 different explanations for the destruction of Atlantis. Like, with all the timey-wimey bullshit, is it really that out of the realm of possibility that in this universe, Sir Isaac Newton was mixed?
The funny thing is, you don't need to go as far as Atlantis. In the real world, we never stopped saying gravity. We never started saying mavity. So in that very episode, we established that world has different rules than the one we live in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hell, for the most part, I don't even think they ever
I'll take care of this.
have acknowledged COVID is happening.
Not on screen. I think that some of the spin-off material may have I have a vague memory of something kind of. Oh, that's right. They did have actually no. I think there was something that was unofficial that might, like non-canon, might have mentioned it,
Maybe,
but
yeah.
I'm having trouble putting a finger on it. But I don't think anything like
Mm.
it could be argued that there were like aspects of COVID in Doctor Who Redacted or whatnot, but not directly, like kind of indirectly.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
But generally, like
but
on
yeah,
screen, they tended to just avoid it entirely. So you could even make the argument
right.
that it just never happened in the Doctor Who universe.
Instead, they destroyed half the
Um.
universe, which I'm not sure is better. But where that was, of course, entirely coincidental. They were planning
Mm.
to destroy the universe already. But I really like the fact that they kind of spell out the fact that if we were to just kind of assume that every character must be played in the way that they, in the racial group that they're assumed to be, one, it would basically
Mm.
mean giving preference to white actors, and two, a lot of those assumptions are flawed because people just assume that, like, black people kind of spawned into existence in 1609 and were
Yeah.
confined to Africa before then. Or not even just black people, but
Right.
people of skin tones darker than Spain.
Yeah. And even then, it's also just like this is also a show that has a really wonky history with like, go back far enough and there's all the um, brown, yellow, etc. face. Like even into the 70s they were doing yellow
Mm-hmm.
face. So it's like um like I think we're allowed to do that. Um but like so we avoid ever doing like I will take a mixed race actor playing
Mm-hmm.
Sir Isaac Newton in a world that is clearly not really supposed to be ours anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um Over like, at least it's that and not and hell, I'm also glad that it was just him. They didn't like because like it would almost be worse if they'd cast him and then like put him in, I guess you would call it whiteface. Like,
Right.
yeah, let's make you look white
Mm-hmm. I mean,
just to
there's
like not thinger, because at that point people would be going, well, why didn't you just cast a white guy then?
yeah, there's some complaints about
You're about to say something?
diversity. Is that it kind of erases like, for example, if you have a black actor playing a character, it might erase like that like black culture from that character if there is any. And some people are like, oh well, if you put someone who is non-white in a role that would normally fit a white person, then you're still just writing for white culture. You're not introducing, actual diversity. It's just that they look different. You're basically color swapping
Mm.
people instead of taking
I,
into
I would
account
definitely
stuff like that.
I would definitely say those are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Cultural diversity
Mm.
versus simply allowing people of different skin tones to physically appear on screen.
Yeah.
I do think both
Yeah.
should exist, but I think, yeah, if you're writing, I mean, like, so for example, I don't know how things are talked about nowadays, but there for a while there was the idea of certain roles in Hollywood films for a white man or Will Smith.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Will Smith has ever been considered the erasure of black culture, and in fact, he always
Mm.
brings a certain amount of black culture to the way he plays his roles.
Yeah.
But it's
Mm.
it's just been he's been that one token black guy that's been allowed to act in roles written for white guys because he was famous
Yeah.
enough. And I
Mm-hmm.
think certain
Mm.
things like that, like somebody, for example, not to go into the controversy with actually Mickey Smith's racial group was written into his character.
Mm.
But I mean, so a lot of roles in Doctor Who, in Doctor Who are simply person living in the UK.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
actually, Doctor Who is, I mean, there's usually been one-off episodes that kind of address racial and ethnic conflict, so it's hard to say a certain character that completely didn't matter for. But like, there are just
Yeah.
people in the UK that happen to be black. They don't have any particular black culture.
Mm-hmm.
They've probably been in the UK for decades, and they deserve to be represented just as much as somebody whose parents were from Africa and are living that life in the UK, and both should be appearing on the screen.
Yeah, it's a thing of like um what I feel most people would assume with the colorblind casting would be is they'd be kicking up a stink about the Sir Isaac Newton thing. Um but they would just assume that it purely would mean like, well, this random background character or this like supporting cast character in whatever story like could be anything because this is sci-fi and they're humans that aren't even on Earth at the moment. So who cares? As like I guess a good example is like I don't remember now, mind you, I don't remember how closely I was following Doctor Who back then, but like Liz 10 was played by a black woman.
Mhm.
Like I don't like I guarantee you some people probably got pissy about that. But like that was a character that I don't know if they really leaned into her being black. I'd have to rewatch The Beast Below, but I don't
Other
think
than the
they did.
fact that like she was like she was one of those like I'm more like the regular people sort of royals, like she kind of went
Mm,
undercover and then you had to like reveal that she was the queen.
yeah.
Aaron, your
Um
household was following Doctor Who more than us when that episode when those episodes aired. Do you know if there was any sort of like social media or like con scene debates about Liz 10?
Um, I don't remember seeing anything, but I think, hmm, yeah, I remember being kind of surprised by it, but like, it didn't really bother me that much. It
Right.
was just kind of different.
And
I'm like,
mm,
oh, I wasn't expecting that. That's pretty cool.
mhm.
I don't remember
And
hearing
I would
anything.
oh sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I will say that there have been some criticisms of even that era of Doctor Who of being colorblind in the sense of like basically like acting as if as if there's no different experience between black Brits and white Brits,
mm,
Mm-hmm.
and also of not portraying other groups that are present in Britain as much. So there's always been a
mm,
colorblind casting argument about modern Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
This just kind of in a different direction. One from one
yeah.
more of a leftist critique and one more of a conservative critique. Um,
Mm,
I will say, while I would not say I particularly disagree with any points that Alex has made. The part about Doctor Who not necessarily wanting to be taken seriously as historical drama does cause me some pain because I it was started as an edutainment show, and I like to think that
Yeah.
sometimes
mm,
kids are it's not it shouldn't be lecturing to kids, but it should be teaching them in a way that that they're going to learn from in my mind. And maybe
mm.
they've just given up on the idea. Maybe they're just like fully embrace it being a fantasy drama and fuck historic. I mean, we had the Nikola Tesla episode. I thought that was very educational
yeah.
for kids who might not have known about him.
Mm,
So I do think that there should be some concern about that. I don't think it's all or nothing, and that
mm,
they have to be 100% nonfiction or 100% fiction. I think there can be a
mm,
middle ground where the portrayals are accurate. But also, that's added to the fact that, we kind of assume that if they're a famous British person in history, that all of their ancestors were white. And that's
mm.
categorically not true. It may be true for some
Yeah.
people, but that's categorically not true. And I'm perfectly fine with dispelling that myth.
Yeah. And of course now you're just reminding me that like the Chibnall era had a few instances of that, of like Rosa, Demons of the Punjab, Nikola
Mhm.
Tesla, and oh god, what was it again? The Sontarans one in Flux. Um
Was it just? It wasn't War of the Centaurans, right? No. The
Don't
Centauran
think
invade.
so.
I feel like it had a pretty generic name.
Yeah, it was like
TV story chart.
something of this. Yeah, something of the Sontarans. I'm pretty sure, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Um,
Oh, there. Wait. Oh, never mind. I just have. I'm looking at the screen that just listed as Flux as a single story. That's not very helpful. Um, I get it from this.
War. Okay, it was War of the Sontarans. There you
Okay.
go. Yeah, because that had
Oh, and there
some
we go.
like
Master
historical
Shield
stuff.
only has Flux as a single story too. So
Yeah.
I failed twice to find it.
Yeah, so weirdly enough, Chibnall did try to delve into like
Mhm.
teaching some history,
Yeah.
even if only like basic level stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
it was stuff the Doctor Who hadn't touched on before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So given the choice, if they had to take complete liberties, I'd rather it be original characters. But I also don't think that there should be this assumption that every historical figure we know about was necessarily, looked exactly like,
Mm.
the King of England or whatnot.
Right, yeah.
I also, well, yeah, actually, yeah. Given all those episodes, I can't really say that the edutainment perspective is a minority because clearly, at least some writers are keeping it in mind.
Mm.
Which, yeah, I didn't even know about those war. Like, I think they're taught as a big deal in. I think the Balkans and whatnot are a big deal in English history, but we do not learn about them at all in the U.S. So I did not even know that war happened. Uh, was it between? I guess in the reality it was between Russia and England, but in the episode it was between Sontar and England. I had never I had to look it up during that episode because I had never even heard of it. Any last thoughts on this piece before we move on?
Not for me.
I think that's it.
Okay. That is the end of our news. Big Finish's only new release was a collection of already existing stories, so I did not even bother summarizing that.
Mm.
So we move on to Geek Talk,
Yay!
which means 10 minutes of Aaron.
Yay! So I did recently finish the second season of Fallout, and man, was that a doozy. The first season I felt was a little bit goofy, a little bit lower budget, kind of, like, oh, hey, it's adventures in this weird little wasteland area, and yeah, it kind of felt like Fallout for me, especially with the adventures in the vault and stuff like that. Um, but like, I don't know, it felt a lot smaller and more self-contained. Here, season 2, they really spread their wings. They really get into some of the lore. They start talking about, like, they start bringing up the Enclave a lot more, as well as the NCR, the Legion. A lot of stuff is introduced from like the games, so it starts really feeling like Fallout, and it feels like they at least doubled the budget for the show for this season, because everything looks much more polished. A lot more big stars. Macaulay Culkin is in there as one of the Legionnaires, so that was interesting to watch. In fact, I'll try not to spoil too much about it. Oh my gosh, and I think maybe House is probably one of my favorite characters too. It's just, yeah, and you see a lot of moral dilemmas with the main character Lucy and the ghoul, and I can't remember the other guy's name. But it was just, everyone trying to do the right thing and kind of screwing up at some point, and then realizing that maybe the bad guys that they're fighting might have a point. Lucy's father, of course, is trying to. I won't get into too much detail, but he's trying to find a way to control the Wastelanders to make them less violent and have them kind of conform a little bit more to civilized society, which of course involves some kind of unfortunate mind control techniques that Lucy opposes. And then, but her father's like, well, what are you going to do? You know, these people were killing each other out in the middle of this apocalyptic wasteland. Are you actually going to stop me from, you know, trying to help them and trying to keep them alive? So she's got like a bit of a dilemma there too. And then of course we're following the nuclear fission device. I think nuclear fission or fission. I think fusion device that we've seen throughout the past over the 200 years of the story. So yeah, kind of the ghoul or Mr. Howard trying to again do the right thing and winds up screwing up pretty badly. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Much better budget. Lots of lore that you'll recognize. I know some Fallout New Vegas people don't like it, but I've also heard some Fallout New Vegas people really like it because it's probably the most popular game out of the whole franchise. And there's also callouts to Fallout 4 and even the earlier games 1 and 2, so I feel it fits in pretty nicely. And that highly recommend.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Going on to the next one? Or do we have anything to add?
Sounds good. I don't even know what questions to ask because I know nothing about Fallout. So yeah, I guess let's go on to the next one.
Okay. All right, and then of course we have the new Muppet Show special that came out, guest starring Sabrina Carpenter, an executive produced by Seth Rogen. I think Seth Rogen really did his best to try to capture the magic of the original show. It maintains the original opening, but of course with new footage, you know, in 4K HD and everything. Still kind of keeping it small, limited sets, like I was discussing with you guys earlier. Limited sets, so it's not. I don't think it's super expensive, but the thing that caught me off guard here was like the writing and like just how funny it was. I thought it was brilliant. Some of the jokes in it, and of course there is a little bit of adult humor.
I imagine if they manage to turn the special into a full series that they'll be able to expand on sets, but for a one-off, they probably didn't want to go too deep into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I hope this gets picked up for an actual series. They mention in this special, like, oh, this is the first episode of our new series, but like Bill said, that a little bit more kind of pessimistically is that this may just be a special kind of a pilot type of deal, and for all we know, Disney may not pick it up. It would be a real shame if they didn't, though, because this is a great reintroduction of the Muppets after, I think, Muppets Now and, like, the previous few movies. I think they modernized pretty well. And they bring up stuff like copyright infringement, so there's and like Bridgerton, so they're able to adapt to new topics. So... again, I highly recommend checking it out. Production values are, as despite being limited, it's still a pretty good looking show, and like I said, very snappy writing.
Did they introduce any new Muppets?
Yes, I think they did. I think they introduced a couple of them because there's a skit that they do out in the audience where I can't remember her name, but it's let me see if I can look it up quick.
It's God. Oh wow.
No.
Crazy Muppet.
Let me see. 2026 guest stars Maya Rudolph, who
I feel like I've heard that name before.
She's a comedy actress. So, other than Seth Rogen himself showing up and Sabrina Carpenter, of course, as the music artist, who actually a lot of the songs she does are kind of country inspired, which I thought she was a pop star, but yeah, let's see here, Maya Rudolph, who starts a dalliance.
Yeah, she was on SNL.
Yeah, she.
Maya Rudolph was on SNL.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she starts a dalliance with one of the Muppets. It's a Muppet that I don't recognize, so I think it might be a new one. but she finds a boyfriend in the audience for herself. So that happens to be a Muppet. So and that was actually pretty funny. Um, and it just
The
kind
woke
of
agenda.
yeah, it spirals. It's a great balance of chaos and like comedy and entertainment, and the costuming for Sabrina Carpenter is actually pretty clever. It's actually really clever. It kind of almost a 70s trick. I'll give it away. So she's in a bar kind of singing and kind of getting the patrons under control. She's like, getting into bar fights. She's like basically a barmaid. She's a waitress. And there's one scene where she's dancing with chickens and everything, and the guy running the wind machine turns it up to hurricane force, which blows all the feathers off of the chickens. And at the end of the sketch, the chickens are running around kind of naked and crying shamefully, like, I'm naked. That type of deal, although they don't speak or anything like that. But if you look at her dress is made of feathers, of the white chicken feathers. So, which is kind of a cute little costume change in the middle of the sketch. So, yeah, I thought there's lots of little details like that. So, not highly recommend. Mm-hmm.
All right, so that is it for Geek Talk and the Muppets, which brings us to our episode summary, which I am on for the summary, and I have a feeling it's going to be pretty short. But then again, one time I said that, and it took me 5 minutes. So we'll see what happens once someone counts me down.
uh, let me see here. I can bring up a stopwatch. It won't be on the screen, but I can bring it up. Um, okay. Excuse me. All right, I've got the stopwatch up. Just let me know when you're ready.
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, and go.
We start. We start right off at the end of Fatal Consequences, when the gunshot rang out, and it turns out that Josh has killed the keeper of the Crimson Chapter to save Sarah Jane, and he also killed Will outside. Sarah Jane is pretty upset about this and basically wants, her space because at this point Josh has now killed 3 people, and she's like, "What the fuck?" So she and one of them is Will. We then cut to her and Nat. I think they're actually just after the funeral of Will, and kind of talking things out. They arrive at Sarah Jane's house or wherever she's staying, where Josh is there, despite not having been invited. So they have a bit of an argument, finding out that this is the first time Nat is finding out that Josh is the one who killed her boyfriend from the first story of the season. And also, the keeper of the White Chapter, Sir Donald Wakefield, is currently inside Sarah Jane's place because he wants to invite them to the launch of his spaceship in Nevada. Uh, while all of this conversation is happening, Sarah Jane realizes that Josh is Sir Donald's son, and that he was basically put up by the White Chapter to protect her from the Crimson Chapter, and that's how they first met in the first place. Although Josh still swears that she's his closest friend and he wants to remain friends with her. Eventually, they all do agree to go to Nevada to the ship launching and undergo training. During that time, Sir Donald dies, and it ends up that Sarah Jane and Josh are the ones that are going up on the ship, and Nat is going to be running comms. While they're up in the ship, it turns out that the pilot is a member of the Crimson Chapter, and I think I've said it turns out like 5 times. So Josh and the pilot kind of shoot each other. Josh is bleeding out, the pilot is dead, and they go out. The engine keeps running much longer than it should have. Then Sarah Jane sees a big light, which she says is familiar, although I'm not sure what it's supposed to be referencing. And then we kind of cut off on a big cliffhanger, and we don't see Sarah Jane again until school reunion at the end.
All right, you did that in 2 minutes and 42 seconds.
Yeah. Longer than I thought, but I did feel rambly at some point. I said it turns out like 5 times. All right. So on to what we liked about the episode, and starting with Alex.
Um. Hmm. I guess. God, I feel like I had something, but I've just lost it. Damn. I guess I'll just go with the acting overall. From the at least from the primary cast. Like, given that there's a lot less, like, this is kind of like the epilogue in a way.
Right.
Um, it's mostly just characters talking until the shit happens right at the end. Or right near the end anyway. Um, so it's a lot of just people talking back and forth, and they sell it.
There's also a lot of emotional moments, especially for Elizabeth Sladen, but there's some for all of the main cast
Hmm.
members.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron.
Okay. Let me see here. I
What
had
do
a
you what
few.
do you like about the episode?
Hmm. I like how they kind of maintain Sarah's character as being a bit feisty and having a moral compass. Um, although I do have an issue with that later. So, because they kind of push that off to the side in order to get the rest of the story going. So I kind of wish that they had maintained that for a little bit more of the story, because like she seems to kind of forgive Josh a little too easily and everything. Is just like, well, we need her to go up into space with someone, and apparently Nat can't go with her. So, but I do
And
like,
it does take place over the span of several weeks, so
mm-hmm,
I think it does come
Hmm.
across a lot faster in audio format than it's meant to be implied by the story.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um, but I do like how she is like, I don't want to hear about it, Josh. She puts her foot down. Like, this is the
Hmm.
end of her friendship with him, unless he comes up with a real good story about why she should stay friends with him. And the same thing with Sir Donald. Like, she's not having any of Sir Donald's BS either. Um,
Hmm.
Hmm.
and you just kind of, yeah. I like how she just pushes back. She's not a pushover. She's someone who stands up for herself, and isn't just some like damsel in distress, which was her whole thing in the original show too. So I think they carried that over
Right.
really well from classic. So yeah, like I just specifically I enjoyed how they were able to maintain for the most part her character and just her like don't bullshit me attitude.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So I have a kind of different approach in terms of what I liked about it that I think conflicts with yours a little bit, and that is a lot of ongoing series, whether they're in audio, and I have not been putting up images, but a lot of ongoing series, uh, whether they're in audio or on TV or what have you, they'll have these contrived reasons for conflict that are just kind of, you know, oh, well, the reason that you met me was because this thing happened, and therefore our friendship is fake. And so we're going to keep fighting, even though we're both friends, and something happened off screen just for the sake of having conflict. And I really like that this didn't really drag that out. She's like, what the fuck? You're a part of the white chapter the whole time. Um, but she does, she also is like, okay, I know who you are as a person. You are, you're somebody that I know the people that you've killed. I don't like it, but they were for, I can't deny that my life was in danger and that, you know, even if your actions were extreme, they were, some form of that was still needed. And so she was able to move on from that point. Uh, it would have been nice to see more of that process, but if that would have been a different story, they would not have, we would not have gotten onto the spaceship ever. And so I can
Mm.
kind of understand why that didn't happen, regardless of how, I feel about the structure of the plot. But I just like that they didn't do the whole like, well, we're breaking up our friendship because of who your father is, and then we're going to spend, it would take an entire another season for us to become friends again, or we would just literally never see you again. And both of those are kind of annoying for a story to do. So I like
Mm.
that they did not do that. Right? Sounds like no rebuttals to that. So, Alex, what did you dislike about this story?
um, broad scope. I almost wish, especially given that, like, just I almost feel like this should have been like the starting bit should have just been on the last one,
Mm-hmm.
and this should have been the opening of a third series. Which yes, we never got it, but this should have been held on to for like part one of what the next one was. Because then, I mean, it ultimately means we never would have got it, but it would have kind of had a more interesting note. As much as it would have been a downer note, it would have still kind of fit with this. To
Mm-hmm.
like, they knew before they put this out that this was it. From what I understand, it was after she recorded this that she got signed on for Sarah Jane Adventures. Not after this, at least if I'm reading it correctly, it sounds like it was she was signed on for Sarah Jane Adventures after she recorded this, not not after this came out. So that to me says that this should have just been canned, and this should have like the other bit should have, because it's such a weird note to end on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, or, and maybe this is just wishful thinking, they should have asked for more money, because it wouldn't have had to be much. I mean, this is audio, not visual, but to rework the ending to just be like a proper end point,
Mm-hmm.
and just delayed the release a bit to have
It
it
was
like,
it was a
okay,
proper endpoint if you
nothing
think
goes
Sarah
wrong, she
Jane
gets
dies
back
at
on
the end.
Earth. um well, that's just a funny thing. It's like, I mean, you either have, which to be fair, it's Big Finish, so it's not as if it's solidly canon anyway. But it's such a weird note knowing where Sarah Jane goes after this,
Mm-hmm.
to be
Yeah.
like, like, what happened? Did the doctor show up? Like, is there some hand wave explanation off camera that like, oh yeah, it was actually just the weird light that she saw turned out, like, whatever happened before whatever could get her, maybe got her, like, oh, the doctor showed up and saved her and blah. But like, it's just I feel like it should have just been reworked at least to just be like, oh, after all this horrible shit, this just actually goes right. And
Mm-hmm.
nothing bad happens, and they touch back down, and blah. Like, that would have been better if they had had the budget to just be like, oh, you're doing that. Well, can we have her back briefly so we can just retweak the ending? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
really only from like when that, like, right before that guy reveals himself onwards that you would need to tweak. Everything else can be up to that can basically be the same.
Yeah.
It's only that everything goes to shit that you would need to change.
Even you could even do less than that because you could have her like land back on Earth and be like, "I have the wildest story to tell you, Nat," and then the credits roll.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like just yeah, it could even just be like whatever the thing is, just kind of randomly saved her, and she just wakes up with it having either crashed or just seemingly being very pleasantly, softly placed, as if it was teleported or something
Mm-hmm.
onto back to Earth, or like maybe even just redirected. So yeah, it would land back on Earth. Um, and then yeah, they save her and she gets thing.
Which
But yeah,
on that
like
note, there are parts of it that it sounds like she's being saved by the TARDIS, and then that doesn't happen, and it
mm,
almost makes me wonder if that was the plan, that it was going to end with her being saved by the TARDIS, and then they were like, "Well, we can't do that because she just told us in confidence that that she has a script that says she hasn't seen the Doctor in years, so she can't be
yeah,
saved by the TARDIS or something."
Hmm.
yeah, and I mean, I would have been shocked if it had been that. I feel like it was gonna be she was gonna be off world for whatever series 3 was.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't necessarily going to be the Doctor. It was going to be some sort of like alien race, maybe one that she'd encountered before that was friendly,
Maybe
having
the
like saved her.
Federation or something. Was it the Federation? I can't remember. It was Paladon.
Yeah, the
Yeah, it's not.
Galactic
Brain.
Federation.
Yeah, the Galactic Federation.
Yeah.
Maybe. Was it Alpha Centauri saves her? I mean,
Was
she's.
Empress of Mars set in the present day, or was that set in the future?
I don't know because it's like imperial era like British soldiers in it, but I don't know if they like
Oh, so maybe,
accidentally got transported through time or
yeah,
not.
right. I
Well,
don't
actually, no,
remember
yeah,
how
because
they got
like
to
that,
Mars.
yeah, Empress of Mars is like the Ice Warriors joining the Galactic Federation
Right.
at the end. At the end, so I
Okay,
guess it's in the
so what I'm
past.
finding is, okay, according to the novels, it existed in 1979. Um,
Ah,
Let me see. On screen, it just appears in the far future, I guess. But what? Let me just control F. Empress of Mars. Empress of Mars has not been included in the write up of the history of the Federation. Although I am looking at fandom because that was what came up on Google. I don't know if TARDIS.wiki has a more up to date version.
Hmm.
So, okay, so we don't know if it exists at
mm,
this time in canon or not, but I'm sure that's never been a problem for Big Finish.
yeah.
Okay, Aaron, what did you dislike about this story?
Um, I'm gonna go ahead and say, hmm, things kind of feel a little bit weird after everybody kind of forgives Josh, which I still think happens a little too quickly because he really does kind of come off as gun crazy. Even when he's on the spaceship, like Sarah's like, "Where'd you get that gun?" Poor Josh always has a
Yeah.
gun. He always has a gun, even
Mm.
in a country where it's supposed to be hard to get guns and whatnot. So I guess you doesn't mean you can't get them, but still.
Yeah. Well, this story is set in Nevada.
Mm.
But
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
he walked down the road and found one. It was literally just laying in the road
Mm.
somewhere. But
Yeah,
just
I mean,
like
I would assume it would be his dad's gun, given the whole,
hmm
yeah,
um, like, hey, I need to talk to you for a sec after they leave the room.
yeah, he just can't seem to stop shooting
right.
people. So as long as they're with the red chapter anyway.
Although, so the funny thing is the implication here, I think, is that Josh wanted to shoot but didn't for Sarah Jane's sake, and then the pilot shot Josh. Like in a Han
hmm
Solo Greedo situation, Josh
Yeah.
shot back and killed the pilot after he had already been fatally wounded because he didn't want to upset Sarah Jane.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
it's possible, we obviously don't know because it's a cliffhanger, but it's possible that Sarah Jane's no killing policy killed Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Josh is obviously going to get brought into a Lazarus pit by the White Chapter, come back, put a red hood on, and kill Sarah Jane's enemies.
Continuing to be her protector. Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm assuming everybody recognized that was a Batman reference, but just in case.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, that's basically like they forgive Josh a little too easily for being as, angry with him as they were. Although I recognize, like you said, if they didn't forgive him, then it would have been a completely different story. So,
Yeah.
and all the buildup that they had
Mm.
before would have just kind of ended, but they could have had that at the end of the
Yeah.
last
I think
episode too, and started fresh with the third series.
yeah, like I think the idea is that as much like they don't reference it too much, but the idea is that like a month passes, like some time passes,
Yeah,
and
at one
and
point
then
they say
like
a few weeks have
they're
passed.
doing yeah, because like they do the training is supposed to
Oh,
last a month,
twice they say a few weeks have passed, I
and
think.
yeah, because it's like she has to give her answer real quick because it's like well they need to do like 4 weeks worth of training
Hmm.
if they do go, so she needs to give her answer real quick. Um, so I think the idea is they've had enough time apart to like
Yeah.
calm down,
Because I, I,
and it's
I
a
think
sort
a
of
few
hey, we're all adults here.
I think well, actually, I mean, I don't remember if something was said. At least I had the impression that a few weeks passed between Will's death and the funeral, which that is pretty uncommon.
Mm,
So maybe I messed up there. It is pretty rare that that would be the case. But there were
yeah,
definitely, they said, a couple of weeks passed between um, the dad's death and the spaceship trip.
right, yeah. Well, right, yeah, because like he's been Josh has been trying to contact her for however long, and she's just been ignoring him.
Right, right. So
So that
yeah, so
I
it's
would
clearly
assume that
not
would be
like
like
3 days later, like some countries do.
yeah. So I would assume that's like a while later, but still close enough that it stings. Whereas,
Hmm.
like, then you've got like the other passages of time throughout this where they've had time to think about it and calm down a little bit. Like, not necessarily get over it, but at least like have had time to process it.
Hmm.
Yeah. So for my part, this just feels like such a non-story, and by that I mean like
Mm,
it doesn't follow any sensible story structure in the if you look at it as especially as part of the season plot. It
yeah.
would be one thing if they encountered something in space that was part of like the Orbis Pastremo plot. Uh,
Mm,
but even like they try to tie it in, but what we basically have is in the first 5 minutes we end the season plot that we've been dealing with for the past few episodes.
yeah.
Then we start a new plot about going to space, which could have been a new season or something.
Yeah.
And then it kind of ends off with, well, there's a shootout in 5 seconds. It's all over. And it
Mm.
just, it did not, it did not feel like any sort of real story structure. It was like, okay, we have a bunch of story in the very beginning, and then we're sitting around going through astronaut training,
Mm-hmm.
and then they
Mm.
go up in space, and then a new story starts to begin. Like it would
Mm.
be as if you know, pick up like a season finale of Doctor Who. Like they do a
Yeah.
two-parter, and they properly end the season in the first 5 minutes of the second part. So let's
Yeah.
say Pandorica opens the Big Bang. If
Mm-hmm.
they wrapped up the Big Bang in the first 5 minutes, and then the next half hour was about setting up the Christmas special or something, it doesn't
See.
it doesn't make any sense to me. And
Yeah.
we don't get enough of a payoff to justify the entire episode being about that to me.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, it's an RTD ending, is what you're saying. We wrap up the big bad real quick so we can do all this other stuff.
Is it?
like what? Like, it's like I think that's the problem we had with Sutek, wasn't it? That like he got taken out. It felt like he got taken out too quickly or too easily
It's like modern
I mean,
because
there's
we
that,
need
but
to
RPG.
like
resolve this.
the season plot took the rest of the episode to finish. But yeah, we did have the complaint of
Mm.
Sutek being kind of only in the beginning of the like kind of separated from the season plot, even though they seem to be connected.
Yeah. But yeah, like again, this is why I feel like this would work. As I said before, this would have probably worked much better as like a series opener rather than what it's trying to be, which is like I guess the only other comparison I can think of is like Game of Thrones, how like the big ooh moment would happen in like the ninth episode instead of the 10th, and then the 10th episode would be an epilogue
Mm-hmm.
to like wrap everything else up. But that had like, you know, a massive cast of characters to wrap up
Mhm.
versus this, which only has a handful.
Yeah, you can't. There's not really an episode like the wrap up happens in like the first 15 minutes. So I'm
Right.
looking at it like almost like, what if this season ended when she was like, Sir Donald, get the fuck out of my house? And
Mm.
or the whole like, oh, y'all two are father and son, okay, but still get the fuck out of my
Mm.
house. And then
Yeah,
that would be
yeah.
and the cliffhanger would be like, is she gonna go to Nevada or not?
Mm. Which I guess would be easy to explain away of like, well, Sarah Jane Adventures happened, so I guess not. um
Or she
Yeah.
or she went
or
and
like
nothing
or
special
she
happened.
yeah, and it was uneventful, so there was no point in referencing it. But yeah, it's very much like if like if the bit that was basically just the ending of the previous story had just been in the previous story and like again that's what I think, like that bit should have just been in the last story and this could have been like the start of a series 3 had that happened, because like the problem with the ending that I have is just that it's like I kind of want to see what happened but we don't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, well, bloody hell, use before you release this seemingly, I mean again, unless what I was reading was bullshit, which is always possible, it seems like they knew that they weren't gonna do anything after this, and they just went, well, too late now, and just released it as is. Like I would have just gone to either Russell or just the BBC and be like, hey, could we just have a little bit of money to redo this one section of this
So
one story?
this was recorded in November of '05. It was released. When was it released? Why
Like
do I not see a release?
first half of
Oh,
06,
April of
I think.
'06.
Yeah.
And let me see. Doctor Who School Reunion. I'm assuming School Reunion aired before the Sarah Jane Adventures was commissioned, right?
Yeah, because like I think her appearance on
Possibly.
school day or on the school adventure was what triggered her to get the Sarah Jane Adventures.
Mm.
Right, and like
Mind,
I know, like in universe, that's okay. I'm just wondering if,
yeah,
like
mind
I've been
you,
assuming it was because that episode had already been popular that they made the show, and
Mm-hmm.
that
yeah,
aired in April of '06. So that aired the same month. Okay, so School Reunion was probably filmed in between, or oh shit, it might have been filmed before this. Now that I think about it, but I don't
yeah,
know so much about Sarah Jane Adventures. That might
it,
not have been commissioned
yeah,
yet before this
like,
aired. I say
I
aired;
mean,
it was released.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, like, I guess it depends on like, was it a matter of Russell getting her back for the episode, being there for the filming of it, and going, "Ooh, let's do something with you because you like this. You actually did really well. Let's give you a show." And then maybe took that to BBC right after, like filming was done, or even
Mm-hmm.
during the filming of that episode. Because I guess it depends on how long into it he'd had the idea for like both. Well, I mean, Torchwood was already established, so
Mm-hmm.
he'd probably already had the idea for the spin-off there.
So well,
Um,
so Torch the Torch, yeah. So the seed for Torchwood, like the idea, because there wasn't really a pilot, was throughout the same
right.
season that that Sarah Jane appeared in.
Mm.
So I
So
am
yeah,
seeing that this episode was recorded during the filming of Doctor Who series 2. I don't know if we're going to be able to find the exact date that School Reunion was filmed, but it was,
mm,
within the same several months anyway.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So like, if it is a matter of just what I was reading was wrong or I was misinterpreting or whatever, and it is a matter of just whoops, I guess we can't do it now because it was too late. Or again, maybe it was just after School Reunion aired that they found out, oh, we're not gonna get her again because she's already signed on for Sarah Jane Adventures.
So, School Reunion was supposedly filmed, if AI is to believe, a big grain of salt right here, between August 23rd and September 8th. So location one,
Okay, so
Fitzland.
that would have been before this story was recorded then,
Yeah, so, and
or at the same time, but
mm-hmm.
probably before.
And then it was aired April 29th, 2006. Yeah. They even have dates for the different
Yeah.
locations, like location one,
Like,
Fitzland
Okay.
High School, August 23rd, 24th. Different high school, the previous one was playground, kitchen, cafeteria. Main scenes with delays due to asbestos. Different high school, August 25th to September 6th, 2005. Pickup shots, September 7th to 8th. And then key scenes, including the iconic Sarah Jane Smith TARDIS scene, filmed on September 7th.
And it sounds
mm,
like, from what I'm finding, Elizabeth Sladen was asked to reprise her role in the Sarah Jane Adventures after School Reunion aired.
Mm-hmm.
So this Dreamland had already been released when when Elizabeth Sladen was contracted for Sarah Jane Adventures. So there
mm,
actually is a good chance that there had been a series 3 planned when this released that they just never recorded. Because obviously
mm,
she never left Sarah Jane Adventures. She
yeah.
died still in the role.
Yeah. Like, okay, I'm realizing that what I read was like the wording on the fan wiki, which again is why I was like, grain of salt because you never
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Was like that she was put under contract for SJA soon after the recording of Dreamland, so that was discontinued, and the recording for that was the 24th of November 2005. So
Yeah,
after School Reunion would have been filmed.
yeah. I still don't think that justifies the way this story was written. I still think it was written as a
Right,
novel
yeah.
story. So
Yeah. It still should
as
have.
much as that gives us better context, my complaint still stands.
Yeah. Yeah, this still would have worked much better if it had been the opening of a subsequent series rather than the finale of this,
Mm-hmm.
with just the bit that you actually needed to resolve just having been in the previous story, and just make that a bit longer.
Hmm.
All right. Favorite scenes, starting with Alex.
Um, hmm.
I'm a little surprised we're actually going to our kind of normal time here.
I mean, we did kind of one of the news stories we ended up talking for like 10, 15 minutes. So,
Mhm.
um, I guess I will go with uh, yeah, I'll go with like the last scene they have with Sir Donald. Um, it's just like that whole thing is played very well.
The
And of
scene where
course,
he
you have
died,
the
or I guess
yeah.
he didn't
Oh,
die in
like
the
yeah,
scene.
the
He
sort yeah
prepared to
the
die.
last the last conversation they all have as a group.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and of course it's funny because yeah, you do get the little foreshadowing of um Sarah and Nat leaving, and he like sort of pulls Josh back, which given what happens later was clearly like, hey, there's a chance this might go pear shaped, so be prepared.
Which honestly, I really don't understand, given his connections, how on earth that, like, if you're the keeper of the White Chapter, why
Mm.
would you not just have a White Chapter acolyte be chosen as the pilot?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I mean, to be fair, maybe he was an sort of infiltrator from the red chapter who was posing as a white chapter guy. With all the stuff going on in this, it wouldn't surprise me.
All right, Aaron, what's your favorite scene?
Um, I have a few, but one of them's. I think I'm gonna choose the one that I normally wouldn't have chosen because it's like a little. It's kind of a smaller scene. It's the one where Sir Donald is like trying to talk to Sarah about her destiny, and he's like, "You can't deny destiny," and she's like, "Watch me." She,
Mm,
which I thought was just
yeah.
pure Sarah Jane. That's it was really great. Like again, it's that carryover from the classic series where she's just feisty and she's not willing to let people boss her around. She's going to be the master of her own destiny. So,
Good picture of Sarah Jane. Yeah, I was kind of thinking more or less that scene. So let me see if I have a backup. And really, oh, is this a fucking? It's a non-image. I hate how some of these websites format things.
mm-hmm.
Um, so let's see what
If
other
anything, use the
scenes.
snip tool.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Just like, yeah, I'll circumvent your bullshit.
It's one of those. There was no file extension,
Mm,
so when I went to copy and paste, they were like, we don't know whether this is an image or not. It could be anything.
yeah. Was it Webby or something
It
like
was
that? Or...
it just had no file extension. It
Oh,
was
wow.
just ended with yeah, a bunch of letters. Um, other than that, I do I have so I mean those are definitely good scenes. I'm not sure if I have a third scene.
Uh-oh. You can have my scene, and I can go on to one of my other scenes.
Sure. I mean, so I guess I'll say what else what I liked about. I mean, it showed Sarah Jane's strength, where she was just like, I'm fed up with this shit. I've been in this situation. Get the fuck out of my house. And I guess there's not really much to add to that, but it seemed very fitting of her character. And yeah, go ahead. If you have another scene, go with it.
My other favorite scene would be Josh dying, because he's sitting there cracking wise, like, "Oh, just kidding," and then actually dies, and it's just the way that it's acted. Like you feel like it's actually really heartbreaking. So, and I wonder.
Getting whiplash because you were like, my favorite scene is when Josh dies, and it's like, your tone of voice, I thought you were just like, fuck Josh, and then you're like, it was heartbreaking. I'm like, okay, not fuck Josh.
It's just, yeah, because he's kind of, he's like, oh man, it's a lot of blood, or he's like, oh, I'm fading away, oh, just kidding. And then he actually dies.
Right,
and it's
that did
just
happen.
At first I thought it was just the actors kind of screwing with people, because
Oh,
this is the last story, so they're having a little bit of fun with each other before everybody goes off to work on other projects and everything. So I do get kind of a sense that that might be what's going on here, because I wonder if they knew that there wasn't going to be a third series around this time, like around by the time this stuff was like recorded. Towards the end, they had to have known that Elizabeth was going on to the TV show to do her own TV show, and that they wouldn't do a third season.
From what we just
series.
looked like, it sounds like Sarah Jane did not know until after this was released that TV show was going to happen.
Oh yeah, never mind.
I mean,
but still,
her name is not Sarah Jane, Elizabeth Sladen.
Mm-hmm. I almost did the same thing too. So, but yeah, it just, or it could just be, oh, this is the series, or this is the season finale, so we'll move on, or this, if there is a third series, like Josh obviously isn't going to be in it, so now, and he's been in it from, I didn't actually go back and watch the earlier episodes. Josh is in like the first episode of this series, right?
Yeah.
On through.
Yes,
He's
Josh
in the
and Sarah
he's in the
Jane
whole
are
thing.
in every single
Mhm.
episode of Sarah Jane Smith.
Yeah, so she's been with him throughout this entire series now, and now if there is going to be a third series, or third season series, whatever you want to call it, she's going to be going on without him, because he's dying in this episode. So now it's going to be pretty much a clean slate, except for maybe Nat.
Did they say?
Yeah.
Did they confirm that he was dead, or was it possible he was just unconscious? Because I thought we didn't know.
Well, it could be that he was unconscious, because she never says that. Does she say that he's dead? She says
Not
that.
that
If I remember right, he has kind of a dying words moment, and then he just kind of trails off, and
Now-
she's like, "Oh fuck."
But
that said, based on the themes of this episode,
Mm-hmm.
it would I could certainly see them basically saying as like this is his kind of karmic punishment for being so trigger happy over the past few episodes is that he dies in a shootout.
Yeah.
That would be a very common storytelling technique.
Because I can't remember if she's talking to Nat, or if she's talking to. Because remember, a lot of it, she's also talking to herself. She's like, "Oh, I hope someone hears
she's
this."
like, if anyone hears
Yeah,
me.
Yeah, because I can't remember if she says during any of that time if she's like, "Oh, Josh is dead," but like, I don't think she says that.
I think she
just
does.
says she. Okay.
Okay. Either way, I don't think she was of a mind to be checking his
Right,
pulse. I think
yeah.
it just-
Mhm.
like if
Or
if
in
you're
a
bleeding out
position
and you
to,
lose
depending.
consciousness-
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. They're both in spaceship astronaut suits.
Yeah.
At least according
Right.
to the cover art. No, because they even said like
Mm.
you don't look good in white, so he was in an astronaut suit.
Yeah. And like they might not necessarily be sitting right next to each other, depending. I don't know.
Well,
Right.
would they have their helmets on and stuff? Like you can I'm kind of imagining them maybe not in astronaut suits, but in kind of maybe. Well, they wouldn't be in super futuristic suits either. You know, like the white, coveralls that you see in some of the classic series that are kind of
Oh
tighter
yeah, no,
fitting,
it would definitely be
like
more
an actual
modern,
kind of
Mm.
like
bulky
more current
suit.
day. Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm.
At the very least, their cover artist interpreted it as a bulky suit.
Okay.
Um, okay, so that was okay. So yeah, Josh lived by the gun. He died by the gun. And then least favorite scenes, Alex.
Oh, I feel like I had a very specific one. I guess a lack of, or just to leave other stuff for other people. Why does Nat still hang around with how often they write her as like, yeah, I need to go off on my own for a bit? Like, it gets kind of like, it's I get it. I like as far as the character goes, it makes sense. It's whatever, but it's just like it feels like that happens every story after a point.
Right.
Or like every other story where she's just like, yeah, this is a bit much. I need to go away. Where in like sort of a just when I think I'm out, they keep pulling me back in.
I'm
Like,
sorry, I have a boyfriend now.
is she like is she gonna leave or what are we doing?
Like it
Like,
sounds like she comes back because she loves Sarah Jane, but she leaves because she's fucking traumatized.
yeah. And it's like, which is understandable, but it's like they just keep doing that. So like her having the moment with Josh and then being like, "Yeah, I need to peace out." Like, tell Sarah I'll see you later.
I
It's like, it's just like I get it, but it's like that's all you do at this point, Nat.
right. I will say it's interesting. Like I did not get the impression that they were as close previously as like the dialogue in this episode because like yeah she keeps being
Hmm.
like I need y'all not to call me for 3 to 6 months ever
Yeah.
like that's not so that like clearly like
Yeah.
someone she has some independence from. And I almost wondered like if the dialogue was influenced by the fact that the actors were daughter and mother.
Hmm.
And I'm
Possibly.
sure the acting was partially inspired by that, but like some of the dialogue
Hmm.
kind of sounded that way.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Random picture of Sadie Miller, I guess. All right, Aaron, what's your least favorite scene?
Hmm. My least favorite scene. Oh wait, I was looking at the wrong area. I'm gonna say there's this awkward point where Nat is getting off of the plane, or is about ready to get off the plane, and the was it Ben or someone asks her like, "Oh, can I help you with your chair?" And she's like, "Nah, I've got it." And then all of a sudden the plane takes off. I'm like, did the plane just take off with Nat inside it still?
No, I think they were getting out of a car.
Oh,
Is the way
okay.
I interpreted it.
Okay.
Like they'd been dropped off
See,
and like or they were
was
about to be dropped off.
was
okay.
that the scene where he was like, "Nobody briefed me that there would be a wheelchair"?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I was like,
I
"What?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Does it need to be that shocking that there's a wheelchair?"
I just
Well,
imagined
I think it's
them.
more that I took it more as him being embarrassed that he's like, because he's like, wait, you still got a wheelchair with you? Oh, that's mine. Oh shit, sorry, I didn't realize. Like it came off more as like embarrassed that he just, I guess not that he didn't know, but it's just like, oh, I didn't realize one of you was a wheelchair user.
I was just imagining them because this is supposed to be kind of, I don't know, maybe a clandestine or like a more protected area, I would think. I imagine them like landing in the typical kind of like bomber or aircraft, or not carrier, but like a larger like military plane, and walking down the ramp, the loading ramp and everything, and then like Nat's just like getting into her chair, and then the plane takes off with her still in there. You're like, oh wait.
I think it's more like they got I think it's more like they got like picked up at the Reno airport.
Oh,
and drove
okay.
to Area 51 or something.
Yeah.
I just thought it would
Yeah.
be like more fun if it was like some kind of like military operation to get them there in secret. Like, oh yeah.
I think Sarah Jane flying military to the base, she would have been complaining a lot more. Which
So
I've
remember that
flown
drop?
exactly once, or one trip, round trip in a military bomber, and yeah, it's you don't get the creature comforts of commercial flight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me. 15 minutes ago, I had a least favorite scene in mind, but I was busy trying to think of a favorite scene, and I pushed it out of my brain. Give me a second.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just the scene at the beginning where they're having the whole like, oh yeah, I had to shoot Will, and we're rushing through this scene for some reason, and I don't know. It's yeah, it just does not. It comes across as really rushed, and Josh does not do anything to make himself look good in that scene. And I think that's the scene I had in mind. And I'm going to be annoyed, like, knowing me, like, an hour from now, I'm going to just be like, fuck, I meant to talk about a different scene, and I talked about that scene instead.
Yeah, I
But
mean, that's happened
that
with
is
me
what's coming
before.
to mind initially. Like, there's just some dialogue that just feels like really, like, rushed and clunky for the sake of getting from place to place, which is annoying because they really didn't have anywhere to get to. The story wasn't going anywhere, so don't rush. We could have spent half an hour arguing the merits of killing people in self-defense or not. Why not? And I thought I would have more to elaborate on that, but if I did, it has slipped my mind. My mind is a sieve lately. Yeah. If anything, I should really hurry up and get my ADHD assessment done, because maybe my brain will be less of a sieve if I get treatment. Who knows? Maybe I have dementia and I will forget my name in the next 6 months.
Oh,
I
no.
doubt it, but I'm not that old. As much as I wonder sometimes if I have early onset arthritis in certain joints.
Have you tried swapping to gluten-free bread?
I have not. Is that
I found,
actually a thing for people who don't have a diagnosis?
I was starting to get really stiff joints and stuff. Of course, I also have eczema now too, which is, I think, related to stress. You know, having anywhere between 3 and 5 people die on you, and then several other people diagnosed with like near terminal cancer. That'll kind of do it to you. That, you know, whenever I get nervous or anxious, even when I work out, I get itchy. Like this horrible rash spreads over me. So, but I found that by going to gluten-free bread, the stiffness in my joints is more relaxed.
Interesting.
So, it also has a lower glycemic index, I believe, than regular bread too. So,
I don't know what that is.
For diabetes, and that it doesn't spike your blood sugar as badly.
Oh, okay.
As regular bread.
Gotcha. Which I've been on that note, I learned recently why so often I get a sweet tooth when I'm eating. Apparently, the body does this weird thing where, like, if you're eating like something bready, it gets a sugar spike from the bread, and then the body overcompensates by dipping the sugar, and then your body's like, oh my god, I need sugar, and then you get a sweet tooth. So apparently, it's just my body fighting itself, which makes me want to eat a lot of chocolate.
Yep, I've had that issue lately too. All the candy.
Uh,
Uh,
so now I know what to blame if I eat too many sweets. All right. On that note, and hopefully that doesn't mean we've all lost our attention span for this episode. Final thoughts on the episode itself, starting with Alex.
um, I guess to get one thought out of the way that I forgot to bring up, but I've since looked up, and it turns out I was wrong. I was going to make a joke that, like, the guy playing Ben, like, his accent just sounded kind of flat, so I was assuming this was a case of, oh, we've gotten a UK actor to put on a US accent. So I was gonna make a joke about there's the line where they're like, Nat's like, could he be more American? And I was gonna be like, well, being played by one would be a start. But sure enough, he's from Minnesota, so
Ah,
the
I
actor's
did
from
not. You know
Minnesota,
what?
so maybe he just had,
Until we.
mind you, his credit listing not that prominent. So maybe it's a matter of this is his first time doing an audio drama and he wasn't
um,
used to it, so he was just being kind of
I.
like flat
It
delivery.
was either his first or his second. Let me double check. Okay,
Because yeah,
yes,
he
it was
he
his first because I guess this. I mean, this season was his first because apparently this is
yeah.
his third story, and I never even
Mm,
realized he had a first name until we started talking in this podcast about him.
yeah.
But he's had a very minor role throughout the season, and then he
Yeah,
does
yeah.
appear in something else that was filmed like a year. That was a year or two later, so this was his
Mm,
first.
yeah, like
At least on
when
Big
he
Finish. I don't know about
yeah,
elsewhere.
yeah, like when the reveal happens, he's fine. But in that scene where he's meeting them for the first time, it's like it's very stilted. So I almost thought, is this, yeah, like I just assumed, like, is this just a UK actor that they got to put on an accent? But no, it's like someone from the US. Like, I don't know, maybe they were trying to make him like soften his Minnesota accent or something, and that was the issue I ran into. I don't know,
Maybe.
but either way, yeah, like this story was like an interesting listen, but it really is a matter of like, because this doesn't go anywhere, when it ended, I really just sat there like, that's it? I think even
Hmm.
audibly, like out loud, said, that's it? Like, what a friggin' weird note. Like, again, if it really is a case of it was far too late for them to have fixed it because they didn't find out until like they were basically ready to put it out, or after they'd already put it out, that they weren't going to get any more, which is so, which that could have been its own rant of like, it's friggin' audio. How could she not be allowed to do both?
I well, it might have just been more
Like,
time, like time to,
maybe.
to have a full time show that she's doing, and then
Mm,
also be doing Big Finish on top of that. While also
right.
I'm assuming having a family. I don't. Well, yeah. Oh well, she has an adult
Yeah, yeah,
daughter.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know what her family life is like, but she probably doesn't want to be
Yeah.
working
Like,
7
if
days a
it,
week.
yeah, like, if it was a matter of like, either they signed it to like an exclusive thing, which would have been really shitty if they had. Um, but yeah, like I could see it being a matter of like her being like, at my age, one project that's probably gonna last a few years is all I can commit to. But it is like,
Mhm.
you couldn't, like, I I guess something that I would have hoped happened instead was, at the very least, if they're like, okay, we're not gonna get a season 3, can we at least get her back to do like a, rather than like, what, this was like 5 parts, I think, or was it 4?
This
Um,
season was 4 parts.
right. So I would say like, hey, could we get her back to just do either one off, a one off thing, to just, okay, here's, even though it's going to be rushed as all hell, here's an ending, or even just a 2-part thing of like, okay, we won't get it back for like a full series, but we'll get it back for at least 2 parts so we can wrap this up. Like, it's not going to be the way we wanted, but it'll be something at least.
I have something
that
that
when
dead silence.
We all talked at once, and then we all shut up at once.
I have something to indicate why she probably didn't want to take on another project. Is that this AI was wrong? Okay, this time the AI was wrong. She did in fact fight cancer before in 1999, which could probably drain her. And if she's still kind of, this is like 2006, it's still pretty close to her previous diagnosis. You know, she may have just been tired, I guess,
and even closer to the one that would kill her.
Yeah, and I guess even with Sarah Jane Adventures, the bulk of the running around is being done by the kids. Like, she's kind of running around a little, but she's not like David Tennant in Doctor Who running around. So she was probably like, hey, you're going to have to put more emphasis on the kids because I cannot be that physical.
Right.
So yeah, like I could see it being that, which you would think the audio would be less intense, which is probably why she took it on in the first place, because
yes and no.
Yeah.
Big Finish, like, unlike a lot of, like, there's a lot of voice acting. We could all point to many voice acting roles in our life where somebody very clearly was sitting on a chair reading in a monotone to the microphone. But Big Finish is known for, like, you have people like running in place in the booth to sound out of breath when they're supposed to be running. So I imagine I guess they're not exactly fucking Stanley Kubrick. They're not like, do another take. You need to be more out of breath. Like, they're not that. I think anyway. But even still, like, I imagine there's some expectation of, living up to the audio drama.
Right, and I guess at the same time, even to just counteract what even I just said, it did seem to imply that this was all recorded in one day rather than split up.
It does look like that, yeah.
So, doing an hour worth of audio, who knows how many takes.
She was also doing something called Sarah Jane's Alien Files, too. She was the presenter of that show from episode 1 and through in episode 1 and 4. So I wonder if she was tasked with doing any other, was she going to conventions? Was she doing presentations outside of Doctor Who?
Yeah, probably.
And probably media appearances to promote SJA.
Okay, so it looks like Alien Files was like the Doctor Who Confidential of Sarah Jane Adventures, but only for one season.
Okay. I mean, she's also one of the most popular companions too, so if she makes appearances, it's probably going to be a lot of people there, a lot of devoted fans, and it's probably going to be pretty exhausting. Okay. On to me, I guess.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh shoot. Nah, I'm still on worst scenes. There we go. Episode thoughts. While I don't mind the episode, it just doesn't go anywhere for me. Like I would have been more interested to hear what happened. Everyone would be more interested to hear what happened with the bright white light, but man, I was pretty let down by it just because it kind of felt like treading water for most of the time. And then they do this it feels like kind of a slapdash last half of the episode with the red chapter strikes again. And not all of us, it's the cliche, the
Mm.
henchmen of the big bad guy show up to get their revenge, and you didn't get all of us, that type of deal. So, which is,
Yeah.
I guess, reasonable because yeah, it's supposed to be this global thing, but still,
Mm.
I was kind of let down by it just because it also felt kind of rushed. We had a lot of character exits, like Sir Donald. He dies kind of quickly. I mean, I know that she's in training for a while, but he's supposed to be on the flight, but
Yeah.
then it feels like they rush his deaths just as an excuse to put Josh on the flight. And,
They did kind of warn throughout the season, or like that
Yeah.
he was dying of cancer, and like he
yeah,
said he was going to make it, but his
Mm.
doctors thought he wasn't.
I guess it kind of
Yeah.
can show kind of the suddenness of that kind of disease just kind of snuffing people out too. So,
Mm.
it just feels like it felt like it was trying to end something, and then we finally got the ending that we got, where she disappears into this flash of bright light where they don't even know where the ship went. There's no sign of the ship.
Mm.
So there's just a lot of questions, and it feels a little rushed, and it's, I don't mind the drama and the talking things out and like trying to wrap everything up, but like I don't know, it just feels like it was stretched a little longer than what it could handle, what the so-called story could handle. So I agree with
Mm.
Alex that this should have just been a whole new like teaser for, or like first episode teaser or whatever, for a series 3 that may not have even happened. So, or it should have just not happened. It should have just, the end, like the previous episode, Fatal Consequences, should have never been a two-parter. It should have just been completely wrapped up and then skip having this episode. I mean, maybe they're obligated for a certain amount of episodes or something, so who knows? It could have also
Mm.
been a more self-contained adventure outside of the white chapter and red chapter stuff, but that probably would have been
Mm.
awkward too. So I'm not quite
Yeah.
sure. Like there had to have been better ways of handling it than this. So
Mm.
Anything else?
nope, that's it for me.
Yeah, so I think the structure of this story is really the big flaw for me. I think there's a lot of options they could have done. They could have ended it with, basically revealing Josh as Donald's son. They could have even done something very similar to this, but just not have spent so much time on the training and such. Because I can kind of see, okay, you're going to have some sort of teaser for next season, sure. But the teaser for next season was three-quarters of the episode, and that really frustrates me.
Mm.
And I don't think that anything else in the episode can recover from that, because three-quarters of the episode is spent teasing a payoff we never get.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
there can be, debates about, well, whether it's, it makes sense to have a cliffhanger for something that's not guaranteed to be released and is not filmed, whatever. I imagine most industry writers would say that it's perfectly fine to have a cliffhanger for something that's not written yet and is, in fact, job security. I don't know. Uh, but this clearly shows the flaws in that. Uh, but and again, I don't want to harp on just the cliffhanger, because if the cliffhanger was just the last 15 minutes of the episode, it would be perfectly fine. But it was not that, and that is where the crux of my complaint is. And at this point,
Mm.
I feel like I'm repeating myself. So let's move on to final thoughts on Sarah Jane Smith Series 2. If we have anything unique to add. I'm sure we probably do.
Hmm.
So these four episodes, which are uh, Buried Secrets, Snowblind, Fatal Consequences, and Dreamland.
Hmm.
um. Overall, I feel like this one was a bit. Mm, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't as strong, I feel. as series one. Like series one had some moments where I was like, ugh. But ultimately, I don't know. And maybe it is just because like feels like it's trying to. I don't know. Maybe even part of it's just that the scope feels weird for a Sarah Jane thing. I mean, which sounds weird to say when you take into account like Sarah Jane Adventures, but that was aimed at kids. Um, so like, of course, they were gonna have like the alien threats and stuff, but this is trying to be more grounded, to a degree. But we're going into this whole like, oh, you thought it
More
was,
grounded than Canine and Company, I guess.
yeah, like, oh, you thought it was, the woman from Robot. No, it was actually this other group that are like this global cult split into two factions, and it's just like, I don't know, does that really fit Doctor Who ish stuff? Like, I mean, again, with the tone and all that they're going for anyway, it's like I'm just wondering if it's like it just didn't grab me as much. Like, I mean, again, like the last part into this did make me want to listen to it quicker than I normally would because I was like, well, I have to figure out what happened next. Which is funny to think that they both dropped on the same day anyway, so people could just listen to both,
Oh,
one after the other. Because yeah, like as I brought up last time, uh, episodes, whatever you want to call them, 1 and 2 for this series dropped at the same day, and then like a month or two later, or a couple months later, um, the previous story and this one dropped on the same day. So they just dropped them in groups of two, rather than one at a time. Which, for all I know, maybe that's how they handled series one. But series one had like 6 parts or whatever. So, um, generally had more. So they might have done it slightly differently, where they released like one a month for 5 months or 6 months or however. Um,
okay. So for series one, part one was in July. Part two was 8 days later. Part three was a month later. Part four a month later. Part five a month later.
okay.
For series two, they dropped parts one and two on 1st of February, and parts three and four on the 1st of March. Although I feel like the other page contradicts that because it says so. Yeah, so one page says it was released in March, and one page says it was released in April. So I'm a little confused which one's correct.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
The actual Big Finish website does say one was March, one was April. So I think the page saying they were on the same day might be the one that's mistaken,
Hmm.
but I can't
Possibly.
necessarily confirm that.
Hmm. Um. Yeah. In any case, I'd s- I'd say it's still worth a listen, but just know going in that this is effectively leading to nothing by virtue of the fact that it got canned
Mhm.
due to Sarah Jane Adventures becoming a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's an interesting sort of what could have been in a way, I guess, because the tone of this, I remember when we covered series one, like the tone is very less adult than Torchwood, but more adult than Doctor Who, which makes
Mhm.
sense because this was audio dramas. They weren't aiming these at kids. These were aimed at people who were adults now who were probably kids when Sarah Jane was the
Yeah.
companion.
They were looking for people who watched Sarah Jane as kids in the 70s.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, watched Doctor Who as kids in the 70s, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'd say it's still worth a listen. Just know what you're getting into.
Okay, Aaron?
I really like this series, and I wish that there had been more. I don't know if the overarching plot of the cult really worked all that well. I think I could see it still, her investigating kind of a more terrestrial threat. But I would like to also see her fight against, like, maybe encounter some of the aliens that she encountered as a companion, and be like, okay, I know how to fight this monster. I know how to fight that monster, and it's Santorans. Okay, I've fought these people
Monsters
before.
other than Hilda Winters.
Yeah. So yeah, that could have been a little bit more interesting to introduce some, and then also like have her team up with some of. I don't know if I never listened to the first series of this. Does she ever team up with Unit at all during her own standalone series?
No.
It would be nice if some of the Unit people would make cameos, like was it Bennett? Maybe even Lethbridge Stewart, even if he needs someone to come in and kind of stand in for him. Maybe.
Well, I mean, at the time these were made, he was still around.
Yeah.
So he definitely could have if they wanted to.
Or have Mike Yates show up as a villain. That could have been kind of cool. You think he's gone because we don't really hear anything from Mike Yates after he gets, canned and found out that he's involved in that.
Well, I think we find out that he's become like a Buddhist monk or something. Or something
Weird.
like that. Like, I forget what it was. I think it's like he comes up in Pertwee's final story as to where he's ended up.
Okay.
Either he appears or they just mention what happened to him.
Okay. Yeah, I wish.
But mind you, he fell in with the wrong crowd once, so it's not entirely impossible.
Yeah, like because they did that recently with gosh, what do you call it? Lower Decks, where they brought back a person who made a horrible mistake, and he winds up living with that mistake for the rest of his life. He becomes one of the main villains in the animated Star Trek series Lower Decks. It's a person from Star Trek The Next Generation shows up again. Yeah, so there was a lot of things that they could have done to tie it more neatly in with Sarah Jane's character, I think, as well as, have her be like a news reporter and stuff like that. There's all kinds of trouble that she get into. I mean, look at April O'Neil. Look at all the trouble April O'Neil got into. So, or Peter Parker. There's all kinds of stuff they could have done, and I felt they did a reasonably good job of it, but it could have been more interesting if they threw in a few more alien threats, I'd say, or if they actually had to fight the Mandragora, or Mandragora. However you want to pronounce it. Yeah. The ending, again, and along with the rest of the world, would like to see it actually, figure out what the white light was. I'm assuming it was the Doctor, or supposed to be the Doctor until, like, they revealed the whole thing with the TV shows. Her not having seen him in, like, forever anyway, so that probably wouldn't have worked. It could have been Romana. Maybe Romana's like off having adventures too, or Susan, or some other, tie-in.
Or the
Dr.
Celestial Intervention Agency, like, we need to take this reporter to Gallifrey for some reason.
Yeah. Or the Galactic Federation. That would have been really cool, like her traveling around and helping to fight threats to the Galactic Federation because she fought a lot of the same threats, or she ran into a lot of the same enemies as they did too, I think, right?
If I put Alpha Centauri on screen, will YouTube age restrict the video?
Yeah, because Alpha Centauri was pretty big. They got a team up with River Song too, I believe.
Mhm.
So, heck, Sarah Jane could have met up with River Song and they could have had adventures. Or what's her?
Well, that would not have happened in 2006.
Yeah, not quite anyway. Neither would Clara either, because Clara is also
Right.
effectively immortal now and traveling around in her own version of a TARDIS. So, but like, if they were to suddenly decide to do a third series, they could do any of that stuff too. Just have her kind of disappear for a little bit and then come back for school reunion, and then she really wouldn't have met the Doctor at all. She would just be going on these new adventures. So, I feel like they could have done a lot more stuff than they did. But overall, it's still worth a listen, like Alex said. That's it for me.
So, a headcanon idea that could be where she met Mr. Smith. Is she went into the
that
bright
works.
light, went on adventures, met Mr. Smith, and he brought her back home.
Yeah, that works.
But yeah, so I kind of liked the cult angle. I thought it was kind of cool. That there was, this established enemy. There was these factions going on. I felt like the ending kind of dropped the ball. I wish they did a little bit more of how these conversations she had in Mask of Mandragora became this prophecy, and even her explaining like this was something that I talked about in my history in 1980. There is no freaking way that it was foretelling the future in 2006, because I didn't know the future in 2006. So why, y'all need to calm down. That explanation never happens. She's just like, okay, eventually she just goes along with it for the sake of the people. But yeah, I wish that the last episode had done maybe a little bit. I mean, this is back to the episode thoughts, but if we're looking at this as a whole season, I wish that the pilot had been a bit more of a realistic threat, that he had been kind of somebody with a little more dialogue. Kind of like if you're a Pokemon fan, like the gold and silver Team Rocket, where they're just like, they, at least in the remakes, they have personalities, and they're like, you beat our boss, but we're still going to try to fulfill our goal. Or someone beat our boss. In the case of Pokemon, it wasn't actually Sarah Jane, right? It was Red.
Right.
But someone who actually has some personality, and instead he just is like, for the Crimson Chapter, bang bang, oh, and that was all of his dialogue. So it was really a bit of a letdown in kind of all fronts because of that. So I think if the last episode had been a little stronger, this would be a really solid series. Instead, it was a kind of good series. Again, I think the season plot more than you two, it sounds like, from your brief descriptions, but I just think they did not stick the landing. Let's go on to ratings, and I think I need to run to the bathroom, so let's try to make it relatively quick. Alex.
I think I will go with.
Just for the episode, by the way, not the whole season.
Yeah. I think I'll just go with a flat 4.
Flat 4. So you kind of liked it as much as Mirror Signal Maneuver, Comeback, or the Dow Connection. I don't know why it's aligned to the right. I will fix that. All right, Aaron.
It's definitely not as good as the last episode that we listened to. And giving just the ending, I'm going to give it a 3.0.
3.0. So that is your lowest rating on Sarah Jane Smith.
Yep.
And this is definitely my lowest rating, and I have been debating between a few ratings. And at the risk of coming off as an asshole, I think I've been pretty transparent about how I feel about this story. I'm giving it a 2.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
I
Wow.
think the first,
Oh.
yeah, if the first 15 minutes were more representative of the whole thing, then it would be
Mhm.
higher. But I feel like
Mm.
I was waffling between a 2 and a 2.5, and I honestly think I feel more like a 2 toward
Hmm.
this episode.
Actually, I think I want to lower
Mm.
mine to 2.5 then.
2.5.
Yeah, because I think 3.0 was still pretty generous.
Okay. So
And
that
honestly, it's
yeah.
the acting that kind of saves this for me.
Okay.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, and
Mhm.
I've always been a story person. Like if the good story can save bad acting, but good acting cannot save a bad story. That's pretty
Mhm.
much been my role throughout.
Yeah.
For the entire 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it is 9. I don't know why I thought there were less than 9 there. For the entire 9 episode series of 2 series. This is why I like season better than series. What do you mean the series of 2 series? Come on, Britain, get your shit together. For the entire series, we have Alex is on top with a 4.06. Matt and Aaron are currently sharing a column because Matt did the first 5 and Aaron did the last 4, and there's only so much room on screen. So
Mhm.
between the two of you combined, it gets a 3.94 for 9 episodes. All the ones below a 4 are you, so however you want to take that.
Okay.
And then my total is dragged down by the last episode to a 3.88.
Oof.
Our Dreamland average is a 2.83. And if we were to follow this phrasing, that makes Alex wrong. Um, Let me quickly check our rankings for what a 2.83 is.
From what I can tell, that would be 447th.
Yep. From 443 to 447, it is on par with Destiny of the Doctor, Enemy Aliens, and no other audio dramas. It is also on par with the Crimson Horror, Death Comes to Time, and Canine Mutant Copper. It is better than uh, any audio dramas. Any audio dramas here? Not that are properly labeled anyway. Better than Voyage of the Damned, Greeks Bearing Gifts, Revenge of the Cybermen, Delta and the Bannermen, Angels Take Manhattan, Hyde, the TV movie, and the Celestial Toymaker.
Hmm.
And
It
the
is
other
not.
Dreamland.
The other Dreamland is down there.
Yeah, 465.
Oh yeah, that's. Oh yeah, I didn't scroll down that far. Okay, so this is the better Dreamland, I guess. I'm not entirely. I have to refresh my memory on that, but yeah, I mean that was one that was really dragged down by the visuals for sure.
Hmm.
Not as good as. Come on, give me an audio drama. Nothing, no audio. Okay, Class. Everybody loves Reagan. Oh, 3.0s. Yeah. So not as good as The Girl Who Never Was or Everybody Loves Reagan. Also not as good as K9 Curse of Anubis, Torchwood Combat, Time of the Doctor, Torchwood Something Borrowed, Vampires in Venice, or The Horns of Nyman. So that is what we have to say about Dreamland and Sarah Jane Smith. Let us know what you thought of this week's episode if you've listened. Don't forget to like the video if you've gotten this far, and subscribe on YouTube to get our exports, or follow us on Twitch to get notified when we stream. Next time, we continue our look at Torchwood Miracle Day with Escape to LA, written by Jim Gray and John Shaban. I don't know if that's pronounced right, and starring John Barrowman as Captain Jack Harkness, Eve Miles as Gwen Cooper, Kai Owen as Reese Williams, Mackay Pfeiffer as Rex Matheson, and Alex Havens as Esther Drummond. We'll see you then.